cast, and I'm doing a ad-libbed live show here. Not really a whole lot of plan put into this one. I had a few minutes to myself, and I figured, I have a few things I want to talk about, so I'm going to talk about them. So anyone who wants to join me in the chat, I would appreciate it. That would be pretty cool to hear from you guys what you think on these topics. The first one I just recently saw from Fox News. I mean, I saw it originally on Twitter. I got the story from Fox because why not? Didn't have anywhere else better to get it from. And it's a sad story. In Canada, there was a crash. As you see the title here, 2 pilots killed after Air Canada jet hits Firetruck, forcing New York's LaGuardia Airport to close. Basically, what happened was, I guess they were landing and somehow a fire truck was on the runway. I have not read fully through the story and why exactly this happened. But obviously, a very big mistake on someone's part that led to the deaths of these 2 pilots, a tragedy. And I send my prayers to those pilots, for those pilots, and for their families as well. I don't want to underplay what happened here in Canada. As you see a picture there, Hochul and Mamdani responding to the New York mayor and governor, respectively. And I just want to take a look at this picture. How do my desktop, I actually don't know how to zoom in here. Problem with desktops. But you can see it well enough. You see this plane fairly well disintegrated at the front. So obviously the cockpit totally wrecked. And apparently that was because they ran into a fire truck while landing. A fire truck. Okay. Is everyone still with me here? So the plane, this is a normal plane. I mean, maybe a little bit smaller, I believe, than the ones that supposedly or did crash into the World Trade Center. Completely demolished by running into a fire truck. I've also seen airplanes where when they have had birds run into them. So if they've hit a flock of birds while in the sky, it can create severe damage on the plane. These are obviously light materials in order to, well, be able to fly. So again, as we see what happened to this plane at LaGuardia Airport, Air Canada. So that's one of the airports in New York. Now, my wife's going to hate me if she sees this video because she is not a big fan of conspiracy theories. But I just think this is one of those things where everyone, please just take a minute to think this through and put on your your tinfoil hats, I suppose, and say, hey, if that is what a fire truck can do to an airplane, then how in the world can an airplane demolish an entire World Trade Center building and make it so and demolish it so badly that both of them collapse, and also, of course, Building 7 collapse. And also, don't forget about the Pentagon, where the plane disappeared, which actually might have happened, as we see how much this plane has completely disintegrated in the front. But I think the engines are obviously a bit tougher material than the rest of the cockpit, etc. And I just wanted to show you here, this is a typical video that you'll see kind of defending the World Trade Center.
The typical, not as a sideways toppling, but as a vertical
story
descent through the building's own footprint. In the late 1960s, Lower Manhattan faced a unique
obviously it's pretty long.
I
don't want to get copyright. I'm just trying to find the part where they say where the airplane hits the building, as apparently this video is supposedly telling you exactly how it collapsed. Okay, where is it? There's a part here where
traditional skyscrapers of that era
shows
used dense interior column redundancy,
and they're showing you exactly that it all collapsed because
or larger. The core columns carried approximately
the airplane crashed all the way through, and the jet fuel, remember, don't forget the jet fuel, leaked all the way through the center
per tower at full occupancy. These columns were continuous.
And if you see the video, where is the
every 2 to 3 floors.
No, this is not as good of a video as I had hoped.
99 elevator shafts, 3 stairwells.
But you all have seen the videos of the plane just disappearing into it, which, yeah, of course, again, a plane would cause plenty of, destruction to these World Trade Center buildings. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but if a plane can be absolutely just destroyed at the front of it, again, I'll show you this again. This Air Canada plane just hit a fire truck. A fire truck, okay, that's a pretty big, that's a big car. Okay, it's pretty heavy. But the fire truck compared to the World Trade Center buildings, which were built literally to withstand hurricanes and planes flying into them. That was like that's what they were designed for, which obviously makes sense being that tall. You would not want to risk them falling into the entire city of New York in case a plane did crash into them by accident or by terror. And again, this airplane is totally smashed at the front because it hit a fire truck, guys. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just this is one of those stories where I don't really understand how anybody still believes that entire, the story we hear from the mainstream media, the mainstream theory of the World Trade Center. Now, I actually don't really know what happened, but I cannot possibly believe that if this is what a fire truck does to an airplane, that an airplane can crash into those buildings, they collapse straight down on each other or on themselves, I should say. And then, of course, Building 7, which collapsed in a perfect free fall because it had, what did they say? It had fires caused by, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it's Air Canada. This was in New York. That's my bad. I messed that up. This was in LaGuardia. I thought it was in Canada because I misread it. But thanks for the comment. Christ risen, hallelujah. So I see a couple comments here. So the physics of being on the ground versus nosediving, right? Um, yeah. Do I? How does that change how fragile an airplane is? Now, yeah, of course, you're going to have more speed and more impact if you're flying into a building. Sure, I'm sure that's the case. But if this is how fragile an airplane can be, are you really telling me that it's going to do that much damage to the entire structure that high up to make it crash down on itself? No, I'm sorry. No, I just can't. I can't buy that. Can't buy it. I just think that that something else had to have happened at the World Trade Centers. Had to. Can't believe it. And again, just I saw this image and like, no, come on. Explain it to me, John NB6EP. Okay, it's sure the physics are different because again, you're saying there's more speed flying into the buildings. Okay, fine, but should the more speed like disintegrate the airplane? I mean, I guess the airplanes did disintegrate upon impacting those inner beams, the inner support beams. But if it's that easy to destroy, this is not high. This is not heavy material. I guess the engines are heavier, of course, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense, guys. I'm sorry. That this just it's another sign that something was very wrong. I think what always convinced me that something is up. And again, I don't really know what. I'm not even accusing anybody. There are plenty of rumors out there. But Building 7 collapsing in on itself, or the passports of the Saudi Arabian hijackers just being found on the streets of New York. I think the day after the crash, if I remember right. The fact that they have no video of the crash into the Pentagon. Yeah, something hit it. I mean, probably. I mean, it looks like an airplane. Maybe it was a missile. Sorry, I'm responding to John here again. I should put that up on the screen. John says, I don't believe the official story, by the way. I know it was an inside job, but something must have hit it. Yeah, sure, something hit it. But I'm just saying that they could not have been the only reason why there was a free fall of that building. I'm not saying a plane didn't hit it. Maybe it was a plane. It's hard to say. I mean, it could have been some sort of it probably was a plane. Sure. Okay. But the fact that they say that it collapsed in on itself because of the jet fuel, even though again these buildings were designed specifically to not do that. I just don't buy it, guys. And it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. John agrees with me on some things probably and others not. That's fine. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a pilot. I just saw this story and I just immediately thought, come on. Does anyone still believe in this 9/11 nonsense? Who it was, I don't know. Could have been the CIA. I mean, there's some weird stuff. The guy who owned it, insured it, like shortly before against terrorism, like the week before. The Pentagon, the part of the Pentagon that was destroyed was the one that was doing the audit, right? I think that's the story. They're doing the audit on the Pentagon, and this, oops. I think that I think Building 7 also had some strange part to play in what they were, what it was used for. I believe also CIA or something. Mossad planted explosives, maybe, maybe. We know for sure that there were Israelis that were celebrating, right, dancing in the streets and stuff. I mean, that's not disproved, or that's not argued with, as far as I understand. I mean, and there's so many different things that just, and I've thought for shoot almost decades now that it was not what we are told what it was. That it was. Could have been Israel. Could have been America. Could have been try to get us into war, which it did. I mean, once like with Pearl Harbor, that it was allowed to happen, why not be in the case with also with 9/11? Don't really buy that a hologram hit it or a missile. There's a lot of footage of the impact. The Pentagon likely a missile hover. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. I do think it was a plane. I mean, I don't know if it was. There are some strange things with the plane because I think I've seen some videos of how it's very unlikely a plane could have done the maneuvers. That size of plane could have done the maneuvers to take it that it showed to do. But yeah, I agree. There is a lot of footage, so I don't disagree that there was a plane that hit it. I just think that could not have been just a plane that made both buildings collapse in on themselves. No, it doesn't make sense. And a missile, I agree with you again, exactly, John. A missile that hit the Pentagon. I think this certainly seems to be the case. Again, there's no video of it. There's that one video that they show for like 2 seconds, and it's above a police car, and you barely see anything. And it really is kind of a joke. I mean, in my opinion, and I think that people are waking up to a lot of these different things because a lot of these things that we see, in the news today, right? A lot of these conspiracy theories that turn out to be true, and I think that as time goes on, we'll learn more and more of what actually happened. And what actually happened with JFK. And I think that when his own nephew says that it was an inside job by the American government, well, that's I think we should at least have a good conversation about that, right? And shouldn't we at least be saying that, hey, we can't be called conspiracy theorists anymore if we don't believe it was just Lee Harvey Oswald with making it impossible, 5 shots within, what was it, 5 shots in 20 seconds, which is, it's not possible. Was it grassy knoll? I don't know who did it. I mean, almost certainly it was the shadow government, right? I mean, whoever that was, Lyndon Johnson, CIA, etc., went to Vietnam, you went to war almost immediately after. I'm not saying Kennedy was the saint, but he had gone against the banking system, these secret societies, and had tried to an extent to stay out of Vietnam. And I think they said, okay, no, sorry, bro. Now, it also could have been a certain small country in the Middle East that did it. That there are certainly a very good there's certainly evidence there that could have been the case. Could have been Russia too. I mean, there are a lot of people who wanted him dead. Let's be honest here. But I think just because of exactly how it happened, the fact that he was riding out in Dallas in an open car. Sorry, I'm off track, guys. You got me down conspiracy theory way. That's sorry, I got myself down there. Yeah, that's a good point, John. Conspiracy theory is pretty derogative. They meant it to be, right? That was a term created by the CIA, whoever created it, in order to make you sound like an idiot because you believe in something that's against the mainstream narrative. Alternative truth. Yeah, I'm with you there. That's a better phrase. But kind of on the same note, I've had some recent arguments on X about the quote unquote alternative truth about the Nazis. And it's just like some of these things, I think that's the issue with these alternative truths, conspiracy theories, that you can go too far. You start not, you start saying nothing is true. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, the way the mainstream media, stretches things, or how we're taught in schools, et cetera, it's clearly not, it's not reality. And I don't think probably any history is, or most any. I think that's the one beauty that we have, say, with the Bible or tradition, is that we have that guaranteed through the church, that we know the truth of the history of the church. Because otherwise, the victors write it, and sometimes the bad guys write history. And I think right now that's certainly the case. But again, that does not mean the Nazis were good guys. I think there is a lot of nuance here. Yeah, communism was bad. Yeah, the Nazis weren't the only bad guys in Germany, but they were bad. All right, they were bad. I've seen the camps where priests were murdered. They were trying to exterminate the mentally ill. These are things that are, you can't deny them. I mean, Hitler was fighting against the Catholic Church at every step, and I think it's a shame, a true shame, that we still have Catholics who are defending them. I think it's a very strange thing. Speaking of Catholics and defending things, I want to jump over quickly to the next topic. I'm not going to do a long show today, guys. I'm just going to kind of hop on here for 30 minutes or so. Jumping over from alternate truth to truth. As we start, we look over here at an article from Chris Jackson. It's called Hereth in Exile. This is Chris Jackson Substack. He's a very good writer. He's not a state of a contest yet. We're working on him, but he does a really good job in covering, kind of like Nova Sorta Watch, but more on a daily basis, exactly what is going on in the Vatican and outside it, as we see here, like in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where our good man Prevost was worshiping Pachamama. So Pachamama 2.0. Yeah, there's a lot of issues here, as we see also, our buddy Bergoglio also at the Vatican Gardens with the Pachamama there in sight. And he had a line here. I'm trying to see if I can find it. I really liked something he said. Let's see, where was it? Yeah, I can't find it, but he said somewhere pretty much what makes this worse, this latest Pachamama, you know, scandal, is that now that you've had two popes caught in this same web of idol worship, it's no longer just, oh, Bergoglio was an idiot. He did this, this, and this. No, it was that he is not the only one. This is not an extreme. This is the norm. This is the norm in the Nova Sordo church. You've had two consecutive supposed popes having a very big part to play in worshiping an idol. And it's an idol that no one denies is an idol. That is a very definitive sin against the first commandment, and certainly apostasy. And it's just an amazing thing that it's just going to be blown over. And I think that I'm going to have a show tomorrow, a live show with Mario Dirksen of Nova Sorta Watch, talking about the reaction to what happened, which I think is in some ways is more important even than the actual 1995 idol worship, because it really isn't anything new. They do this stuff all the time. This stuff stems from Vatican II, where they just say, "Yeah, go ahead and idol worship. It's fine. Good for you. Go do what you do. You can go to heaven that way. Just be a good idol worshiper, and you'll be fine." I mean, it's been in apostasy since 1965. So yeah, it's not that new. But what's interesting is how Trad Inc., the trad media, has either ignored it, tried to brush it under the rug, or just kind of, yeah, it's bad, but they've been bad. Who cares? He's still the Pope. How? How is he the Pope? Unbelievable. All right, let's see a couple of the comments here. There's a good documentary on 9/11 on Odyssey. You might enjoy it. I find it's certainly convincing. I've probably seen it. Boy, there was a time, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where I watched like every documentary there was out there. And I think some of them are garbage, but some of them were like, wow. Yeah, as you say, convincing. Um, Here's no one from Boy, I have some interesting people, new people commenting. I think being over here from YouTube, which is fascinating. Collapse of Building 7, a 47-story steel building presented by Dr. J. Leroy Husley, Professor Emeritus UAF Structural Engineering. I assume you're saying that that's a video. Um, yeah, I mean, as far as I understand it, it just yeah, it couldn't have happened like that. I mean, it had to be demolition. So why was it demolished? And I think that a lot of different questions stem from that one. Hitler got his eugenic ideas from the U.S. Yeah, I think that's true from Margaret Sanger, right? Or was it the other way around? I always get that mixed up. I think right. I think he got them from her. I think you're right, which is yeah, horrible. I mean, she's the one who started Planned Parenthood, and yeah, I mean, how much more do we need to say about the evil of both of those organizations, the Nazis and Planned Parenthood, that were very willing to destroy an entire race of people by murdering its babies. Not good, Bob. Oh, here we go. Here's my first pro Nazis comment, and I knew it was coming. You're wrong about the Nazis. They were standing up against the cabal, and Jews hated Hitler because he was onto them. Wake up, guys! Look, the JOOSs are a problem. They have been for thousands of years, and that there's real evidence of that. That's not being well. Everyone would say I'm being the anti S word, but it is just factual that everywhere they go, they get kicked out of. It happens over and over, and there's a reason for it. So I'm not pro those people. Now, I don't want them to be exterminated or killed. Obviously, I mean that's not Catholic. That's not Christian. We should not want that. I also don't want them running the world, as I think might be the case now. Yeah, that's bad. And yeah, I do think that Hitler, in some ways, thought, yeah, this is a problem, and he tried to even send them out of the country, etc. And yeah, that's not the worst thing he did. Again, e- okay, let's take the JOOSs out of the entire situation. Let's just say that never even happened. He still murdered priests and babies and mentally ill people. And he went to several, he started several illegal wars. Now, if you want to say Lebensraum was legal or justified, okay, what about France? What about pushing farther into Poland? What about Russia? That's not a justified war. So if you want to argue some of the points of it, okay, but just to act like the Nazis were the good guys it's stupid, guys. It's dumb. Come on. I live in Germany. I've lived here for 10 years. I know the language. One of my best friends is a German historian, a cradle Sede Vacantis, a cradle Catholic who has a PhD in Munich history. So people act like you just don't know. Hey, get your head out of the sand. Guys, I bet you I've studied this more than a lot of people. A lot of people in the comment section, oh, I've watched a video. Cool story, bro. I mean, come on. Have you learned German? Have you visited Germany? Probably not. Have you? No, I didn't think so. So, chill it, cool it on the, wake up. What do you mean wake up? Maybe you're wrong. Have you ever considered that? Lies by the cabal. They're not all lies. Sure. Some of them. Yeah, sure. Oh, you're just stupid for listening to the cabal. Yeah, my good buddy who was born a traditional Catholic and studied and is still going to church every Sunday. Yeah, he's the cabal. He's the cabal. You guys are so dumb. Oh my gosh. Portuguese on your birthday. Hey, my birthday's on Wednesday. Happy birthday. Very happy birthday to our good friend Portuguese. Yeah, I decided to jump on for a podcast real quickly. And again, reminder to everyone that we will be doing a live show tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time with Mr. Mario Dirksen of Nova Sorta Watch, discussing the reaction to the Pachamama 2.0 issue. Let's see. John says Iran and Iraq wasn't either. I'm not sure what you mean. Wasn't what? Wasn't a natural course, or something that should have happened, or not a just war. Absolutely. I mean, Iraq for sure. Iran, it's kind of early to say, but yeah, I think I agree. Why? What? The government now knows more than we do. But boy, they better know something, really something that we don't know if they're just going to go and bomb a country, no, I don't like that. I don't like it. No, I agree. And I think that America has been unjust for a long time. And I hate to say that. I'm not a black pillar. Anyone who watches this channel knows that. But no, I don't like it. I don't like what's going on. I don't think it's not Christian. It's not good. It's not what America should be. And I thought Trump was going to take us out of these endless wars. I thought that's what he promised. And that's why I was kind of pro Trump. But man, I don't know. Crossing this line, it's a big line. I'm not ready to make a big statement on it, but I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, Feast of the Annunciation. Yep, that is next year, and often is the case. It's fairly often in Holy Week, so that's a bit of a bummer. Um, Also, even this week in Passion Week, it's you can't really celebrate, right? So what can you do? That's all right. Same with you, Portuguese, right? Also in Passion Week, but hopefully you can find some way to celebrate a little bit on the Monday in Passion Week. Oh, there goes my camera. I don't know. See, I don't understand. It says it's charging. I'm still here, guys. It says it's charging and it's not charging. Yeah, sorry. I don't understand. It's been a problem forever, pretty much. Vatican II was written by a homosexual Jewish guy, by the way. Parts of it, parts of Vatican II are certainly pro-Jewish. I mean, no question. I don't know if it's not all written by Gregory Byrne. I mean, it was written by quite a few different people, be they Italian or German or American. There's a lot of documents and a lot of writing to do. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I highly recommend everyone go and check out akacatholic.com that has plenty of information on that topic. Exactly. Like, okay, who was writing these? And it was very much the JOOSs. It just is. It's just true. And so the Novus Ordo Church is very much buddy buddy and hand in hand with the Protestants and the elder brothers, as they would call them. Let's see. He immediately left Catholicism after Vatican II was finished. Interesting. Yeah, Gregory Byrne. I have heard his name. Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's a sad fact. Anyone who out there right now listening who does not know my position, I am a Sede Vacantist, and I recommend everyone go to cmri.org if you want information about where the church actually is. Let's see who else is in here today. Maybe another insight. Demons fight amongst themselves for control and power, so it can be confusing. It's not always the good guys against the bad guys. That is a great comment. That's exactly right. And it's not. It is. So it's again. You can say there's an issue with the elder brothers, and their people, and there has been for a long time. Yes, true. There is an issue with Zionism. There is an issue with communism. But that does not mean the people who fought them were all good. It's the same with America and in England. Look at Churchill. He firebombed Dresden. The Americans firebombed Tokyo. That is immoral. They dropped nuclear bombs on Japan. That is terrible. So it's not all just because they were fighting the bad guys. And yeah, Japan was a crazy culture that needed to be put down in a way. But yeah, you don't drop nuclear bombs on innocent people and cities. I mean, that's disgusting. I think that's where the world almost lost its soul. America, certainly. Kyr St. Joseph, Kyr SARS St. Joseph. I'm having trouble with my connection. YouTube doesn't seem to be finished loading. Well, I'm having trouble with my camera, so I understand. Trump makes your stomach turn. Yeah, I just don't understand. I don't really understand why he did this. Again, as people know, I'm not a huge Trump guy, but I voted for him, and I still think he's better than the alternative. But yeah, I don't. I mean, besides closing the border, I don't like much of what he's done. Just don't. Sorry, I want to. Yeah, it's a great comment, Portuguese. The two most Catholic cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There's a book. Oh, what's it called? The Shadow of Nagasaki. The Cross of Nagasaki. I forget what it was called, but I think it's about that topic and kind of what happened, and I remember, like, the cathedral was still left, at least partially standing, really incredible scenes in a horrible, horrible, horrible event. I think it may be one of the, top 3 worst events in the history of the world, and it set us down the path that we're on, of American dominance and, now nuclear war, right? I mean, that's what we're in right now, at least a Cold War. And, I just saw today that Russia came out and was like, "Hey, guess what, guys? If you nuke Iran, we're gonna nuke you." It's like, "Okay, can we just cool it a little bit?" Yeah. Oh, yeah. Song, yeah, thank you, Portuguese. Song of Nagasaki. Song for Nagasaki. Yeah, that sounds right. Song for Nagasaki, yeah. No, there's been some, and again, I'm not someone who just hates on America. I think America, actually, the founding of America is proving right now to have been, providential in a way. I'm not saying that, I think it was founded a lot on Freemasonic principles, but also Christian principles. But the way that it was founded, it seems to just be kind of providential because of the actual freedoms it has allowed. And it has. Guys, I live in Germany. America is more free. It is. So it's all these complaints. Oh, it's founded on Freemasonic principles. Yeah, sure. Well, look at Germany. You think Germany's not Freemasonic now? It is. Everywhere is. The whole West is Freemasonic. Yes, it's bad. I don't like it. I want a Catholic monarch, for goodness sake. I'm not arguing that. But always, bashing on the American Constitution. It's like, it's actually a pretty good Constitution. Now, what's happened from it, like Thomas Jefferson, no, I don't. He was a terrible person. He was a libertine. That's awful. He's immoral. I mean, he's a terrible person. But I don't think every founder was like that. I think George Washington was a great man. I wish he had been Catholic. John Adams, I think he was a great man. I wish he had been Catholic. I mean, I think sometimes we need to step back and say, like, America has a lot going for it. Even still, even in this chaos and mess, it still does lead the world. It shows the world in what it does politically, what it does with its media, and yeah, right now it's bad, but it's a responsibility that I hope we someday take in the right direction. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Kara St. Joseph, I guess his YouTube must be working better. As for World War II, I think it was providential that Germany attacked the Soviet Union first in 1941 because the latter was building up. Perhaps not the good guys, but what they did there had to happen. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's certainly an argument that the Soviet Union was much more immoral than the Nazis. I mean, I don't doubt that for sure. They were horrible. I mean, Stalin and Mao, Mao Zedong, are two of the worst leaders of all time, unquestionably. But that doesn't mean the Nazis were good. I'm not saying you're saying that, Cara St. Joseph, by the way. Oh, that's awesome to hear, Portuguese. She says, "By the way, Kevin, thank you for having Dr. Naveen on. He called me right when the podcast ended, and we spoke for 2 hours. That's awesome." No, I really like him. He's a really cool guy. He's very smart, and yeah, he wants to help people. How many doctors out there right now seem to actually want to help people? Not many. Yeah, unfortunately. Here's another one from KT Hart. Wednesday is also my son's birthday. Hey, happy birthday to your son. It is a beautiful feast to have a birthday on. Thank you, Mom. You guys, everyone has to guess how old I'm turning. People tend to think I'm younger than I am. John Adams did attend mass once. Yes, he did, and his commentary on it is actually really interesting. He was awed and kind of scared. I think if I remember his I don't remember his exact quote, but he was kind of scared by it. But he was positively impacted by it. It didn't change his faith, unfortunately. But yeah, I just read a huge book about John Adams, and again, not a perfect man, not a Catholic, but I think a very principled man. I really believe that. I think his side of the founding, because there was many sides. His side was moral, and what is good in America comes a lot from people like him in Washington. Um, let's see, Dominic, good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm just gonna stay on here for a minute or two longer. Got to go take over the kids here in a minute. Decided to hop on here. By the way, if anyone wants to, I'm not saying you normies, you guys already know this stuff, but anyone else who wants to support this channel can do so on Patreon. I'm trying to pull that up as I type. Um, and really, it really is one of those amazing things that if you support like two bucks a month or so, it actually really helps. I'll put that in the chat now if anyone wants to do that. $2 a month. And maybe I'll do more videos like this. And just started watching the question how can an airplane damage a building is the most ridiculous. A fully fueled 737 can weigh 194,000 pounds. Yeah, I still don't. I get it. I'm not saying it can't do damage. Obviously, it can do damage. You see the holes that it makes in the building. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that had enough structural damage that high up to make the whole thing collapse in on itself. Sorry. No. 46. I'm not. Wow, man. Do I look that old? No, I'm not turning 46. Man, boy, I better go get some hair plugs or something. 95% of the communists are JOOSs. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but there were a huge percentage of the Bolsheviks were, yeah, they were in JOOSs. Yeah, that is true. Portuguese, I bet you're, how old are you? I bet you're, well, I know you have an adult son, so you gotta be, you gotta be at least a bit older than me. Plot against the church. I have to wake up first and say the Nazis are the good guys. Krista, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want pro Nazis to support me, so I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're watching, but you do not need to give me $2. But yeah, your other comments are fine. But pro Nazis, it's silly. That's a very silly take. It just is. Sorry. No, not sorry. The Bible is full of the bad guys being used by God for his greater good, and his ways are not our ways. That is a great point. KT, you got some great comments today. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, it's just an interesting thing. I've talked about this before with Father Timothy Geckel on a show a long time ago about how, it's really is kind of providential that America was founded, kind of on puritanical ideals. Again, not Catholic. I'm not saying it's good, guys. Chill. But as Katie Hart says, God has his ways. He has his ways, and I think that is something that's just an interesting way to think about it. That the way it was founded now allows it to be kind of, at times at least, a light. It can be. Right now, no, it's not. I agree. It hasn't been for probably a long time, but it can be. It still has the Constitution to allow it to be, even though I'm not a big fan of democracy anyway. But for a democracy, it's pretty solid. Anthony Radtwad, Anthony Wadtwad, turning 45 next month. Hey, nice, congrats. No, I'm turning 37 for anyone who is guessing. Yep. 90% of German soldiers were Catholic. No, that's not true. Maybe 90. If you want to, I think there's a large percentage of the Wehrmacht was Catholic. 90% of German soldiers. That's not a true stat. Sorry, John. At the time, Germany, I believe, was almost 50-50, Catholic and Protestant, and had been for a long time. I mean, Bavaria was one of the few stanchions, or what's the word, bulwarks of Catholicism left in the country. And so maybe 90% of Bavarian soldiers were Catholic, but there's no way that's true. No, sorry. Portuguese just counting as millennial. I don't even know what a millennial is. When do they start? I'm a millennial, but I don't know when that starts. I guess, Portuguese, you must be, what, 40, 43, 44? Did you guess for 37? Oh, I missed that. Yeah, that's a good guess. You win. Hey, I already sent you a mug. I already sent you a mug. Christian. Yeah, Christian makes sense. 90% Christian is probably true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Germany has been a very Christian nation for forever, pretty much, 1,000 years. Unfortunately, after the Protestant Revolution, they became, um, primarily Protestant, except for, again, in Bavaria, 80, 81. So are you then, uh, Radtrad, you must be also no, you're not a millennial then, you're Gen X, right? 44 today. Wow, 44, still young. I appreciate you, Portuguese. You're definitely one of the more common live stream commenters. Again, hope you have a nice birthday. You're gonna have a cake? Do you have cake on your birthday? I asked my wife if we can have, like, an apple cake. I figured I wanna celebrate a little bit and, but, have something that's kinda a little more mild. Not gonna have a German chocolate cake. Did you guys know this is funny, I saw this, I think, on social media. I always used to think that German chocolate cake meant it was a chocolate cake that came from Germany, but no, it's a chocolate cake that was first made by a guy named German. So, I always wondered because I was always like I moved here and it's like, so I've come here and I've never seen this thing called German chocolate cake, like, I've never seen it, so where is this coming from? And it's because the guy's name was German. See, the things you learn. It's kinda like, nachos, the guy who made it was Ignatius, nacho. Pretty funny. That's true, you did earn the mug, that's fair. Ooh, all grains, sweets, and gluten for Lent. Respect. Yeah, I gave up sweets and stuff too, but I make an exception on my birthday. I know, I'm weak, I'm weak. I'm sorry, I'm not being a very good example, but at least I'm only half giving up. I'll have an apple cake, all right? It's not gonna be that sweet. My wife is not big into sugar, so she'll make it so it's I don't know. No, it's not German, though. It's not even a German cake. It's a German I mean, it's an American German cake, funny enough. Robert Mueller, who directed the FBI's non-investigation of 9/11, just died. Missed a chance to be a great man. Yeah, that he definitely missed a chance at something. Woo, Trump had a pretty extreme comment on that. I was not a fan of that. That's one of those things I don't like about Trump, where it's like, I don't like that he's not presidential. I don't like that. Like sometimes it's like, hey, it's funny when he makes a joke or something. I think it's fine, but to be to be crude or to be just nasty, it's just not. It's not great. Well, you can't no, you can't cheat in terms of fasting, Portuguese. And of course, you can cheat in terms of what you personally gave up. I mean, at least, okay, I better be careful. I shouldn't say certainly. I mean, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I mean, you have to fast because that's the rule. But they're your personal offerings. I mean, as far as I understand, you can take a day and say, I won't do that. On the feast of Saint Joseph, for instance, I went and had a beer with our priest here because we gave up alcohol for Lent, but on the feast here, which is actually a first class feast in Germany. We of course still fasted and abstained, but we still toasted to our good Saint Joseph. Okay, guys, I got to get going here in a minute. But John asked, "Did you read the emails about 9/11 in the Epstein files?" I heard I forget some podcast talked about them. And that is pretty weird. I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like, wasn't it Ghislaine Maxwell saying that it's coming or something. You got to remind me what exactly they said, but I remember seeing them and being like, "Wait, what?" Yes. Well, so I mean, yeah, it's the whole 9/11 thing is it's such a weird issue, but it's like JFK. It's like JFK. They tell such a ridiculous lie, and they just like, yeah. Well, what are you going to do about it? We are your daddies, and we say it happened, and so deal with it. And we've seen that for decades and maybe throughout all history. That's what big governments do. They don't need to tell the truth, so they don't. You know, he said you cannot cheat on your own personal abstinences. Whoa, oh boy. Well, I hope that priest is not listening to the show, because I like I said I semi cheat. Okay, I semi cheat. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I will have an apple cake. All right, I'm not gonna overdo it. I'm not gonna overdo it. There's plenty of German cakes I could do that would be overdoing it. Something about this shadow commission with the emails. Yeah, I don't remember either, but I remember exactly as you say, there was something about the emails that was like, That's very strange, very strange. And the whole Epstein thing is very strange. Again, it's one of those things with Trump. It's like, you know, I don't like it. I don't like it. And again, I've been a semi fan of Trump, and it's like, well, the Epstein thing is really weird and terribly handled and looks terrible. I just don't see how you defend it. It's really bad. It's really bad. I don't know why he's done what he's done, and I don't see any possible good excuse for it. I don't. Sorry. I wish I did. Yeah, that's a good point. There are many obfuscations for JFK, 9/11, et cetera, while everyone is discussing them without resolution. Time marches on until it doesn't matter. Yeah, what's interesting though with JFK, and this is why I actually think it could matter. So if you take the theory that he was murdered by the CIA and by, yeah, a certain small country in the Middle East, then you imagine what does that mean for every succeeding president after, especially when you consider that Reagan was also shot and almost killed. And what does that mean for someone like Trump, who maybe intended to be a good president and do what was right, but a little country in the Middle East and maybe even his own government say, "Hey, guess what, buddy? Do you like your life? Do you like your grandchildren's lives?" You know what I mean? And they just threaten him. And maybe they just send him a video of JFK getting his head blown off. And like, what you going to do about it? I think that's really, really possible. And so I think JFK still very possibly has a big impact. What happened to him has a big impact on now. I think it's really possible. I think that changed the entire structure of the world, because now America, since then, has been at least partially owned by at least the shadow government and maybe also the small country in the Middle East. I don't understand Trump because I don't know the backstory. The backstory of what though? I mean, again, like I've supported Trump. I voted for Trump. But how do you defend the Epstein issue and bombing Iran? I don't like. Please defend it, Krista. I mean, I really mean it. Like, I'd love for someone to explain it to me in a way that I can believe, because I want to like my president. I do. I'm not a black pillar. I do not. I'm not a fan in just hating on America and everything American. But I don't know how you excuse those two things. They're bad. They're really bad. You believe there's more oppression than even that on President Trump? Yeah. Yeah, probably. Probably is. I don't want to be president. I can tell you that. I mean, yikes. Who knows? Who knows what's going on in the background, And it's a terrible thing. A lot of it's about money. A lot of it's about power. A lot of it is about building the third temple, possibly, right? We live in very strange times. I don't think we have a U.S. president who has not been a Freemason. I mean, I think JFK was not a Freemason. I mean, at least the way he was Catholic, and the way he talked. Again, he mentioned in a speech shortly before being shot that he was going to try to shut down these secret societies and people who were planning in the dark and whatnot. It's a very interesting. I think it was some televised event. I don't remember who it was to or whatnot, but you can find it on the internet. And it's fascinating. And I think that makes me believe he was not in that crowd, and very possibly why he was killed. Yeah. All right. I think it's about time to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. Um, it's been fun. Boy, 50 minutes. I did not expect to go this long, but didn't really get anything else done. Gonna have to explain that to myself. But I'll have tonight, right? There's always time. Who needs to sleep? Appreciate y'all. Portuguese, a very happy birthday to you. Again, third time, guys, we'll be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time with the great Mario Dirksen. Please be there and support us in the comments. Again, you can support me on Patreon. Just go over to Patreon and search Catholic Family Podcast. Give us $2 a month and we'd appreciate it. We have a really cool new project coming out soon that will have to do with snail mail. You're actually going to get stuff in the mail from us, which is pretty darn cool. I shouldn't say from us, really mostly from my mom and my dad and my sister. And it's going to be awesome, guys. We're really excited about it. It's not yet, there's a lot of things to figure out and to wrap up before we get it official, but it's going to be very, very cool. I highly, highly recommend it. Let's see. Last question. Let's see. Where do you live in Germany? I live in the mountains outside Munich. So Reitenwinkel is the town I live on in. Um, it's about an hour and a half south-ish from Munich, right on the Austrian border kind of in the middle of the Alps. So pretty nice little town. KT Hart, yeah, it was nice. You had some very good comments. Thank you for that. Portuguese choir practice. Oh, well, I guess if you're gonna miss it, that's a good reason to miss it. You got to come. Portuguese. If we do next year, if we do another concert, which we're doing here on the 1st of May, no, sorry, the 2nd of May here in Bavaria, it's going to be Palestrina, Misa Papa Marcelli, and a few other songs. I highly recommend everyone to look up the song Abendlied by Reinberger. Oh, I just love it. It's really one of my new favorite songs. I'll type it in the live chat now. Highly recommend it. Portuguese, you have to let me know what you think of it. And of course, everyone, please pray for Sister Maria Clarizia. She's in her last hours. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, she's been a nun since pre-Vatican II. Wow, God bless her. And definitely pray for her. Pray for Portuguese on her birthday. Pray for me on Wednesday. And again, be there.